Professor Tolaraya. If you stay with us, we are going to move away from the Middle East now and towards Europe. US President Donald Trump has reversed course on Ukraine, announcing that the US will send more defensive weapons to Kyiv just days after he paused some critical arms deliveries. At a dinner with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, President Trump said the US will boost military support to Ukraine, citing the need to help Kyiv defend itself amid escalating Russian attacks. He emphasised that the focus will be on defensive weapons. Later, the Defence Department confirmed that it would ship additional defensive systems to help Ukraine fend off intensifying Russian attacks, this following Trump's orders. The Pentagon also said it's continuing to review US military shipments worldwide, even as efforts for a lasting peace potentially move forward. Meanwhile, Russia says its forces struck Ukrainian military recruitment centres, ammunition depots and drone storage sites in fresh attacks. The Defence Ministry claims troops also took control of two settlements in Dnipropetrovsk and Sumy regions. Russian air defences reportedly shot down over 400 drones and several aerial bombs. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces launched a drone strike on a Russian oil refinery in Krasnodar, according to defence intelligence sources. Ukraine's military reported that 100 clashes across the front lines occurred, with 40 in the Pokrovsk sector alone. Well, Professor Tolaraya, thank you for staying with us. Some developments here in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. Let's first look at the statement from US President Donald Trump saying that defensive weapons, probably Patriot missile systems, will be sent over to Ukraine. This after his administration announced a pause to some weapons shipments. What has changed Trump's mind, in your opinion?
Well, Trump is not concerned about Russia's winning or actually losing, because he just wants to preserve the arms stock and arms supply for his own arm and for his own purposes. He says, this is not my war, this is a European war, so let Europeans bear the burden. So his consideration is purely pragmatic. That's not done out of support to Russia, and we understand it. So we do not expect much. We presume that the Western support in this or that form of Ukraine will continue. So we will see more of the drone attacks and all other hostilities going from both sides of the front line, and this is the reality. I don't think that we can trust that Trump will solve the issue. He proved he's unable to do so. So it's a welcome development if he will stop supply of certain offensive arms. But anyway, we understand we cannot count on this. We should move forward to force the Ukrainians to surrender.
Professor Tolaraya, I want to look at how Russia and Vladimir Putin is viewing Donald Trump. His rhetoric flip-flaps. We know that he sometimes is perceived to be cuddling up to Vladimir Putin, praising him, but then sometimes talks about the action that he's carrying out and condemns it. Also, this support for Ukraine, its push-pull in certain instances, according to some experts. How do you think Vladimir Putin honestly views Donald Trump? And does Donald Trump's actions have any influence over how Vladimir Putin is carrying out his war plan?
Well, I cannot get into President Putin's head. I can only express my own opinion and my opinion of Trump. I think that Trump is really pragmatic. He may be erratic, but he pursues his own interests and his country's interests, and this is normal. So regardless of what he says, the thing is how to use what he says and how what actions will follow. And we see very pragmatic behavior in the final run, regardless of all the words being said. So that's what we should prognose, and that which we should base our own action on. I think that's what Vladimir Putin does, because he got a generally good attitude to Donald Trump. He is not hostile, just a priori hostile, as many of the Western leaders are. But you should deal with him on the rules that Donald Trump wants to set in. It is not easy, but I think Vladimir Putin does that better than anyone else.
Yes, Professor Toloroya, I want to look at the ongoing fighting taking place on the front lines, but also with continued drone and missile action from both countries. Work was made towards a potential peace deal. Conversations were had directly for the first time in over 3 years between Russia and Ukraine in Istanbul. With intensifying fighting, how far away do you truly think peace could be? And do you think that both countries actually want peace?
The talks are better than no talks, so I think we can expect them to continue. Even limited success and even limited progress is positive. But I don't think the fighting will end unless the terms of the both countries, of both warring parties, are met. And for Russia, it's very clear. We don't want the Ukrainian state to disappear, as some suppose, but we want it to be neutral and non-hostile to Russia. If these conditions are met, we can have some deal, but not before that. And before it happens, the war will continue.
Yes, and Professor Toloroya, while we are here, we earlier did, of course, discuss a BRICS response to trade. Russia, of course, part of BRICS, and given the threat of sanctions as well, how important is it for Russia that whether it's through tariffs or potential sanctions, there is stability in the economy as Russia continues its war against Ukraine?
Well, if you're speaking about the BRICS summit and Donald Trump's comment on it, I would like to say that it was a little bit unexpected for me because Donald Trump succeeded in uniting half the world against him. He said that anybody who supports BRICS is anti-American, and this is more than half of the world. So he declared that, in fact, all the world is anti-American, and he will punish the world by imposing 10% tariff. 10% tariff is not that not that terrible as his usual 100% or 500% tariff. But anyway, I think it's ridiculous. It's really an emotional reaction, and I don't think this is justified because BRICS is not anti-Western. It wants to include West, and it wants to cooperate with the West. It depends on the West, of course. All the countries have good relations with the West, apart from Russia and maybe partly China. But this gut reaction of Trump shows the extent of the irritation, the attempts to build some system not dependent on US dollar and US whims and US will, how much resentment that causes in the US ruling class. And this is the answer to your question, how we're going to deal with it. You know, it is quite possible to leave, even if US would close down its market altogether and will exist within itself. The world will still exist. The countries will trade with each other. They'll have the technologies, they'll have the production. Maybe the world won't be that prosperous as it might have been during globalization, but the world will survive. So I'm not particularly concerned with the US and Donald Trump tariff measures. And as you mentioned, sanctions, which are also very harshly criticized at the BRICS summit. Russia is having almost all the sanctions that you could imagine. So no more, much more amount of any sanction would frighten us and will really affect gravely its economy. Of course, it's not positive. Of course, it's not good, but we will survive.
Professor Georgi Toloroya, thank you ever